I'm Brian. I'm at the Islanders-Oilers game in Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Islanders are winning 2-1. It is the second intermission, and you're watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post, a channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Here for our second series preview, we've got the Islanders versus the Penguins. Pretty important series for both teams. Not a lot of travel in this series. It's not like an Ottawa versus Florida where you're spanning a 3 or 4 hour flight. The island to Pittsburgh is what?
Maybe an hour?
Yeah, maybe an hour. So as far as travel, good for the players. Good for the fans, I guess, too, if any fans want to make the travel or anything like that. Easy. We're here to offer our analysis and our prediction of this series. This is a tough one because everyone knows how elite that Pittsburgh is and has been over the past couple of years. But you have this story and this underdog in the Islanders that is so easy to cheer for, and there's so many good storylines on the team. So we're going to compare some stats to start off and give our analysis and then give our prediction at the end. So as far as records go, the Islanders are 48-27-7, and Pittsburgh is 44-26-12. So the Islanders have the advantage there. Goals for 223 for the Islanders, 271 for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has the advantage there.
However,
goals against 191 for the Islanders, 238 for Pittsburgh. So the Islanders clearly have the advantage there. Power play, 14.5%. for the Islanders. Not good at all. Pittsburgh's at 24.6%, so Pittsburgh by far has the advantage there, 10.1%. Penalty kill, 79.9 for the Islanders, 79.7 for Pittsburgh, so basically even.
Yep.
Face-offs, 47.4 for the Islanders and 50.6 for Pittsburgh, so Pittsburgh has the advantage there. So statistically, there's some categories that certain teams are better at. But generally, I would say the things are actually pretty even as far as statistics. Other than the power play is the real and could be the difference maker in this series. And we're, as Canadians fans, we are used to seeing a pretty crappy power play. So it's not going to be, or we're going to be able to transfer that frustration of watching the Montreal Canadiens when we watch the Islanders in this series. But maybe it'll be better. Who knows? So we'll do the same things we did for the last video in the Tampa series. I'll offer some feedback and comments on Pittsburgh first, and then I'll move on to the Islanders. Feel free to jump in whenever you want. Is that okay?
Yep.
Do you think that Pittsburgh's been a bit of a sleeper this year?
Well, certainly early in the season they were. They got off to their usual sketchy start.
But I think that even like...
But they haven't dominated. They haven't gone on great big runs of...
and that there hasn't been much news out of Pittsburgh. They haven't really been in the highlights that much.
Maybe that's just the way they want it.
That's what I mean. I think they're a bit of a sleeper. I think that maybe people think that they're not as good as they were, and maybe that's true, and it probably is true. But I think that they're, as much as I think that the Islanders are the underdog in the series, even though they placed higher than Pittsburgh in the standings, I think that Pittsburgh has a little bit of an underdog story going on as well. Just been some odd things in Pittsburgh over the past year, I'd say. It's just some... Like, Matt Murray's been really inconsistent and just some weird stuff. So I think they're a little bit of a sleeper. Mm-hmm. How do you think Kessel will perform in the playoffs?
I think he'll perform well. I think...
He's a playoff kind of guy.
He is a playoff kind of guy. He's known to be in the past, he has done that. He's stepped up in the playoffs. He's found extra energy. I think Phil Kessel is one of those players that only gives you about 80% during the regular season. I think he holds some in reserve for this moment.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
A few extra hot dogs in the tank for the playoffs.
I was trying to avoid it, but I can't help thinking about it.
It's amazing how he like, I'm not trying to body shame him or anything or make fun of him.
No.
He looks like he's got a round face. So do I. But man, he's fast.
He's unbelievable.
For a guy who looks like a little bit out of shape, he's so fast.
And there are other sports like football where you can have a player that's not a skinny Mercury Morris kind of player, but can go hard and fast in bursts of energy. And hockey's a lot like that. You can conserve your energy in a 1-minute shift. You could skate around and take it easy for 45 seconds and then just turn the jets on and probably half kill yourself getting down to the other end and going in on the scoring play. But Kessel's capable of that. He has an energy reserve.
He's one of those players, yeah. Pittsburgh's defense, or Pittsburgh's best defensive players need to keep pace with effort-wise with the superstars. So players like Dumoulin and Rust and Cullen, these defensive players, they need to keep, and they will, because that's why they're some of the best defensive players in the league. They need to keep pace with the superstars on Pittsburgh with the effort level of Crosby and I don't think effort and Malkin has been in the same sentence. He's a little lazy, but you know what I mean, right? Like
I do. Dumoulin's a bit of a question mark too, because he got hurt about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, and looks like he'll be back soon, if not for Game 1. But in the playoffs, players come back even when they normally wouldn't be back in the regular season. So you wonder if he's 100% when he does come back.
Yep, very good point. Absolutely.
So it's something you got to think about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Malcolm needs to be less of a defensive liability.
Yeah.
I don't really like looking at plus-minus stat that much, but if you look at plus-minus on Pittsburgh, it's a pretty sore spot, and it's Malkin's plus-minus. It's pretty bad. He needs to be better defensively, specifically back-checking. Like, it would change his game dramatically, I think, if you back-checked like the majority of other players. Mm-hmm. He's a bit lazy, unfortunately, kind of puts him in the same realm as Ovechkin was for so many years.
Or find ways to be more dominant in the offensive zone so that the team doesn't get down and you don't have to back-check because the team can't.
And it's not like he's not in shape. He's in incredible shape. So
and he's a big man. He can do more things with less effort just because of his size. But yeah, he needs to throw it around.
I think the Islanders will start this series by shutting down Pittsburgh. Probably play the match game, try and shut them down as best they can. Mm-hmm. But Pittsburgh can't get frustrated by that. They need to keep pushing beyond the initial shutdown of the Islanders. They need to keep the pace fast and like that's how Pittsburgh won against Nashville and San Jose. They didn't hold back after their initial push. They just kept going and going, and I think that's one of Pittsburgh's best attributes. So they have to do that after the Islanders' initial shutdown attempts. Which Matt Murray are we going to get?
Yeah, really?
And in what period? That's
the biggest question mark. Where the Islanders are so strong, Pittsburgh is weak, and vice versa. The goaltending situation in Pittsburgh is a massive question mark. And all it's going to take is one or two bad games, and then the confidence starts to go, and then it's all gone.
But like just in the past 3 weeks, if you've watched any Pittsburgh games, like in the first and second period, and even sometimes in the third, Matt Murray will make literal highlight reel saves where he doesn't even see the puck and he whips his arm around and he hits it. Just absolutely incredible saves. And then in the third period, he'll let in a couple soft goals and they'll lose the game. It's really strange and frustrating, and I don't understand it. I don't know if it's a pressure thing or a physical fatigue thing or what, but it's noticeable, it's there, and it could be a factor in this series, so keep your eye on it. I think as far as a player that could be the difference maker for Pittsburgh in this series, I think Hornquist, he does a lot of incredible things defensively and offensively, so I think that he could be a difference maker. He does elevate his game in the playoffs, so yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Anything else to add on Pittsburgh?
Not really. I think we're going to see, again, a demonstration of mad hockey skill, particularly from Sidney Crosby. The Islanders will certainly be focusing on him. He does get frustrated when he can't have his way, and he'll have to watch that. He's a lot better now than he was years ago, but he's still, if he is factored out of the game by the defensive play of the Islanders, that could turn the whole series around. So I think the Islanders, I know you're talking about Pittsburgh at this point, but I think the Islanders have pretty good matchups for anything Pittsburgh can throw at them. And because they are the team that finished 3 points ahead of them in the standings, the Islanders will have home ice advantage. And at least some, if not all, the Islanders' home games are happening in the Nassau Coliseum, not in the Barclays Center.
And you know what the atmosphere is like in there.
Whoa! So, and I think that's your fifth or sixth man right there.
Yeah,
I
agree.
think that's a big deal for those home games. So
I would say that the Islanders are probably the best defensive team in the NHL this year. They play that shutdown role. They play very opportunistic hockey, a lot like Ottawa did a couple of years ago, where they try and force turnovers in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, and then go back up the ice with speed and try and make plays. They're not the most offensively gifted team, although they do have some very offensively gifted players like Barzal and a few others, but I think they need to stick with that opportunistic hockey and really play defense first and offense second. Mm-hmm. I think that's how they're going to beat Pittsburgh.
Yep.
I think the Islanders also need to focus more on their game more than the physicality. I think Pittsburgh's going to probably come up and play pretty physical, and the Islanders, although they can match with physicality, I don't think they should be drawn in to that physical game. I think they just need to stick to their systematic hockey and force turnovers.
Yeah.
They should use their seasonal emotion as an advantage. And what I mean by that is there's so many little storylines with the Islanders, Barry Trotz and the Leonard story, and there's a handful of other stories, little stories that they can just draw emotion from, and they're such a tight knit group that they need to bring that emotion into the playoffs as a positive thing, and really keep it going. And I worry that sometimes that when we get these big breaks, sometimes teams they have their bye week and they have 5 or 6 days off, or before the playoffs, it's a little bit too much time off, and they lose a little bit of that emotion. I don't think that's going to happen with the Islanders here, but I'm just saying like it can happen. Yeah. So I really hope that they keep that emotion with them going into the playoffs. One player, Casey Cizikas. Pittsburgh really needs to pay attention to Casey Cizikas. 20 goals. His shooting percentage is above 18%, and he's probably one of the best bottom six forwards in the NHL. So I really think that Casey Cizikas could be the difference maker. If you look at his stats and if you've watched him play, you know he can be dangerous both offensively and defensively. He's a great shutdown player. So I really think that Pittsburgh needs to pay a little bit of attention to Casey Cizikas in the series. The Islanders' third line could be the difference maker in the series. They probably have, fourth line. I meant to say fourth line. They probably have the best or one of the best fourth lines in the league. Pittsburgh can't hold back when they can't give the Islanders any opportunities just because the fourth line's out. They need to keep pace with the Islanders because the Islanders are pretty deep and they need to pay attention to that. And New York needs to stay out of the penalty box. Pittsburgh has one of the most impressive power plays in the league. They have so many weapons that they can use. The Islanders need to stay out of the penalty box, and honestly, they probably need to stay off the power play as well because it's pretty bad. They probably need to stick to 5-on-5 hockey, as weird as that sounds. The Islanders should be playing the match game against superstars. So you want to have Crosby shadowed, you want to have Malkin shadowed and stuff. That's an obvious, I think. I think Brock Nelson has the potential to elevate his game to be the difference maker in the series. I think he's kind of been overlooked a little bit, maybe his entire career. Statistically, he's very good, and I think Pittsburgh might want to consider the matchup shutdown game as well, and shadow players like Barzal, and I can't forget about Nelson. I really think that he could be the difference maker in this series. So my prediction is that the Islanders win this series in 6.
Me too.
Was it really?
Yep. Islanders in 6. They're very evenly matched throughout the season. They're both 2-1-1 against the other team. They only finished 3 points apart in the standings. Very, very evenly matched teams, but very different teams. As you said, the Islanders are very fast. They're a lot like Montreal in a way. They're very fast, little shaky on defense, but they can really have quick turnovers and go back down the ice before you know what hit you.
Yep.
Pittsburgh is just so super strong. And there's an interesting, what we're going to find, competition, I guess, between two different kinds of experience. Pittsburgh's entire team has lots of Stanley Cup playoff experience. The Islanders, not so much. But they've got Barry Trotz.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So you've got a whole team on one side, and you've got a coach on the other side who can hold up his hand and go like that.
The Barry Trotz factor.
The Barry Trotz factor. And that is a wild card beyond measure. Mm-hmm. So I'm like you. I think the Islanders do win this. I think home ice advantage is a huge asset here.
Yep.
But I think they actually close the series out in Pittsburgh.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Well, there you have it. That's our analysis and our prediction. If this is your first video, hope you can hit the subscribe button. Please let us know down below in the comments who you think is going to win the series. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next series preview, which will be Nashville versus Dallas. Adios.